Hey, let's see if this makes it. Some technical errors. Jim is not with me. Uh, he will be joining hopefully later. So I'm going to jump into this. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is RPI. And I may end up doing another video, or if this goes well enough, I will clip this out and make it into a standalone video. What I wanted to do is to try to help clear up people's misunderstanding of what RPI is. So let's see if I can get open the document that, or the PowerPoint that I created. I didn't complete it, but it's good enough to start working with. And yeah, let me see here. I'll just stop it right there at that. And let's see here. Now let's share the screen. Share the window. Let's share this. Okay, so I wanted to put together something to explain what RPI is. A lot of people are complaining about it and worried about that it's done some weird things or that it's a max preps thing. And that's not true. So, first of all, you have hopefully heard of RPI because it's used by the NCAA and various other organizations. Many high school organizations across the country now use RPI for ranking. And why do they do that? Well, RPI is an objective form of ranking. And by objective, that means that it's strictly driven off of data. No human bias of saying, well, I think this team should be um, over this team. Because quite honestly, when you get between two teams and trying to decide if one should be over the other, you probably would find a mixed um, result answer from various experts between two particular teams. So um, that's because they're going to have some bias, even though they may try to think that they are making an analysis unbiased. You can't do that as a human. That's just not possible. RPI is intended to measure the quality of a team's wins and not just the quantity of wins. It takes into account the strength of the opponents and their opponents, and that is done through records. RPI rewards teams that play tough schedules, or better put, teams that have winning schedules. So if you schedule a team who traditionally wins more than they lose, that's going to help your RPI versus scheduling a team that tends to lose more than they win. And then the more that they tend to win, the more it will help your RPI or your ranking at the end. So we'll see that in just a moment. And because you can get helped by teams that have good records, you can get hurt by teams that have bad records. Doesn't use any other statistics. And this is the formula, and this is the typical formula. Uh, this is not the formula that the NCHSAA uses, but it's very similar. A lot of or the base formula that people tend to work with is 25% of your rating is based off of your win percentage. 50% is based off of your opponent's winning percentage, and 25% is based off of your opponent's winning percentage. When you pull that together, that means that 75% of it is based off of how good the teams are that you play. because that gets weighted into um, the overall score of or your overall score in the ranking or your overall number in the ranking. No human saying, let's do this or let's do that, just a strict calculation based off of the wins. The NCHSAA takes away a little bit of the weighting from the schedules and puts it onto the uh, team or the your team. So in this case, 30% of the score goes to your or part of your ranking, only 40% from your opponents, and 30% from your opponent's opponents. So it takes a little bit of weight away from the schedule, not much. It went from 75 to 70, but still it takes a little bit, and you can do these things many different ways. You got to have 100% total, and you can take your percentages however you deem to be the best method. For some reason, the NCHSAA decided this was the best method, trying to give a little more weight to to your team in winning versus your opponent's winning. Hopefully that makes sense. So the way that it works is, of course, team A plays team B. And if team A plays team B, that'll count in your part of the percentage. It will not count in your opponent's because you don't want to count the same game twice when you do this. So it has to go through everything to see if two teams have played each other, and then it'll only count that game one time as part of the percentage. So yes, it's a little more complicated than you might think because it's got to obviously go through and weed out all of the common games. But again, there's no human element into it, strictly data, and there's no reason why a human would even have to be involved in this formula. The good thing is that there is a common site, and yes, it is Max Preps, where the records are kept. Um, this is not a Max Preps formula, but you can hit Max Preps to get all the record information and generate this automatically. And that's what the NCHSAA does. And most likely, Max Preps made the widget for them to do that. Uh, NCHSAA could have made it as well. There are toolkits that you can get from Max Preps to be able to access the data to pull it out. Now, I don't believe this is the best formula, but this is better than anything we've had prior, in my opinion. Um, because it's 100% objective. No human elements enter into it to create some kind of bias. Since the largest portion of the RPI comes from your opponent's win percentage, it's easy to see that playing better teams improves your RPI, and playing lesser teams weakens it, as I said before. Past systems have done some really weird things for seeding. And this was mentioned to me in a Facebook comment. Why don't we go back to this? This is what we're not go back to, but the person referenced to this. This is the way we were before, say back a decade ago. It's kind of changed RPIs. I think this is the second or third year we've been in RPI. But there was a time when we took all the ones, twos, and threes in a conference, and you'd seed all the ones, put the ones in, and put them in by record as they're seeding, then put all the twos in by record to seed, and then the threes, and then you add in the rest. Well, that's not a fair system because a at large bid coming out of one conference may be stronger than any of the number two seeds or a number two seed in a certain conference. So my belief is you should always seed conference champions as ones, no matter how weak their conference may be. And trust me, there's some weak conferences across the state in all classifications, but still, you win a conference championship, you earn a number one seed into the playoffs. I think that's the way it should be. But seeding number twos and then number threes, I don't think that's a fair system. It's going to generate putting far lesser teams in seeded over better teams. So a system like RPI is better than this. I don't think there's any question it's better than this system was. The key thing is that there are better systems that could be utilized. And I'm in favor of a power ranking system based off of strength. And you can look at an example by going to Max Preps and go look at the various either classifications rankings or the overall state rankings. And that's done off of strength. Now, strength, if you use it, there are certain things that have to be put into place, such as it will only count scores up to a certain number or a certain margin. This would prevent teams from running scores up just to get a higher, strength power ranking. But doing a strength because of the way that it works or can work, you can ultimately get a strength of a team from the weakest to the strongest because the system has access to everything and it can go through and crunch the numbers across the entire state and one team playing another team, all of that, and how strong they were when they played, and what does that do to increase that power ranking, and then how does that increase another team's power ranking or decrease another team's power ranking, even though those teams will never play each other, but because somewhere back common opponents have occurred, common, deep, maybe three, four, five, six layers deep, the system written properly can go across the whole state or country and give you an accurate power ranking. So I think that's better than an RPI. It's a little more complex. It can be more controversial because now people will start thinking, oh, because you can run the scores up, you can run your power ranking up. That's why I think one of the reasons why it's been held back. But when Carolina Varsity put out a power ranking system well, back in 2016 was the last year that we put it out. I would like to regenerate that thing. We capped scores in it. So uh, if two teams played to an 80-60 or an 80-72 final, then that score would be counted. But if a team is beating a team or beats a team 72 to nothing, then you cap that at somewhere like 42 to nothing. Uh, you don't give those extra points that they scored. They don't get that. Um, you have to set some kind of margin that says if a team beats another team by X amount and it's above the cutoff or the threshold, then we will not count any further points. So you got to have like a gap between, and thus, if you exceed that gap between, then you have to have a cap so that you don't have that run up. That's the controversial part of a power ranking. Otherwise, it's a lot more accurate than is an RPI. So it's kind of like the systems we had now, even before we had this seeding three and then at larges. There was a time I'm old enough to remember when Conferences were told before the season started, or conferences knew you're going to get two playoff seats this year. This conference is, or you're going to get one. And you might have a team, you might get one out of your conference, and your number two team that's in that conference might be the second best team in the state, but they don't make the playoffs. So that system really sucked, I think. Um, but they were trying to keep the numbers too small. Um, you can argue about number of rounds for the playoffs, et cetera. It's a good topic of discussion, but we have to find ways to expand the field enough to make certain we get the best teams in, which may include adding some lesser record teams. But we need to make certain that those lesser record teams have some kind of strength over other teams. That's why you either use an RPI or you use a power ranking. And again, a power ranking may tell that a 1 and 10 team is better than a 4 and 7 team. Uh, that's not unheard of. I've seen it plenty of times that, a team's not really good, but they're playing a tough schedule all the way through. And you get teams that are not really that good, but because their schedules are so weak, they pop in a few wins and, things look better for them in an RPI potentially than they would in a strength of the team. Now, people talk about, well, we want to have strength of schedule. My good friend Sam Griner complains about that. Well, I'm okay with the RPI, but we need a strength of schedule. Well, strength of schedule is part of the RPI. That's your opponent's win percentage and your opponent's opponents. But it's only a small window into the strength. The strength is really solidified if we start doing a power ranking, and now, as you rank teams, you'll also see that their strength of schedules will go up. You shouldn't have a high disparity between strength of schedule and strength of team. Uh, I guess it's possible, but the system should be written to be able to account for these kinds of things and not allow it. So that's really all I had put together for that. I'm going to see here if anybody has commented. Um, I see nobody has commented. I see we do have a few viewers. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. If you're watching from someplace and you can comment, how about throwing in a comment and see if it helped you any, or did you already understand it? Um, I encounter people that say they understand it, but then as they explain the reasons they don't like it, it's clear they don't understand it. So, and I can understand, but data is that's what I do in my life is I analyze data. So I understand the value of objectively looking at data versus having human bias in manufacturing, which is where I do most of my work. I'm currently working on a project here in North Carolina for a factory that is they're big in making automotive transmissions, and they are now making electric motors for their hybrids that will go into Toyotas if you buy a Toyota. And I've worked with them for many years on data collection. And in a factory like that, accuracy of data is so important. And you versus having humans fudging data, uh, it can kill their system of accountability. And the same thing is true with what we're talking about here of doing an RPI or a power ranking. If you let humans get involved in any manner by adding a bias, that particular bias to it, it skews the system. It was one of my negatives about the NC2A when they really actually the way they do basketball and then the way that they had started doing football, and by combining AP polls, UPI polls, Massey ratings, which the Massey ratings are power rankings, and they Massey was one of the first to put these together, and his system is a fantastic system that he developed. It's highly accurate, and for high school, there are people still using it today for high school. It uses strictly scores. It can't use any other data because to start using yards gained, rushing, passing, all of that kind of information, which would be great, you would need every team to input that data. And coaches just don't do that. It's rare that you can go to Max Preps and look at a team and look at the statistics for a player or for the team itself. It's not a common thing. It's more common with the 1As and, the 2As as you get lower in classifications. They tend to take more care and concern with it, I think, than we see up in 4A. Uh, that's a shame. It's kudos to the lower classifications for doing that kind of stuff. I think it's important for the kids to be able to go in and see, hey, I had 15 yards rushing. It may not mean much to you, but it means a lot to that kid. And to be able to see it, up in the team stats and see his name with a number of carries beside it and some yards beside it, that's a great motivational thing for that kid. Even if it doesn't make him a better football player, it just enhances his life. And we should all try to do that kind of stuff. I know coaches are busy and it's hard to get that information. But if we had that, our power rankings could be even better. I don't foresee that ever happening, but hopefully we can see the NCHSAA move to a power ranking system versus the RPI. When this stuff first got introduced or talked about before introduction, back in the 90s and then in the early 2000s, there was a whole lot of negative input from people about power rankings and using them. But that's all because they don't understand how you work with data and how you're just using a standard derived algorithm that is proven to work. How good do these algorithms work? The one that we had um, could predict games. It predict the entire season. Starting at week one, it predict every game throughout the entire season out to a champion. And then as each week, it would update, of course, and it would have new data to work with, and it would refine itself. And then usually by about the fourth week, it's had enough data to accurately predict all games across the state at around 70%. And then as we got up over 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, it was into the 80s. And believe me, that's good. I've heard some humans say that they can predict at 80, but no, they can't. Not that many games. I've not seen any human in any pick'em games do that kind of stuff consistently every week. I used to run pick'ems when we had the forums on Carolina Varsity, and we were actually giving away prizes and things. I never saw anybody pick like that, and I've seen some good pickers, but humans can't pick at that. And they're picking a smaller set of games that were really more geared towards the areas that we covered, which is probably the same areas as people that are viewing this video and will view this video, which is primarily in the Piedmont and to the west of us. Not so much out east. But the point being, you can do better with data than humans can do. Um, it's just been proven over and over and over. Uh, that system that we had predicted some big games. It predicted a Rocky River Butler game that I remember on the forums caused a whole lot of grief from people because of how it picked in that game, and people got real upset before the game. But lo and behold, it was right. It ended up predicting not only the outcome, but it predicted the score fairly close in the margin of victory. So it's not going to do that every game across the state, that it'll predict all scores within a small percentage of the victory margin. Because if you follow high school, you know things can happen from one week to the next. You can get one injury on a high school team can hurt that team tremendously. If it's the quarterback, for example, he may be just so critical to the offense, and the backup is not capable at all to run what they normally run, and they have to switch into a whole different scheme of how they play. That obviously will affect their output, and they may still win, but they may not win by the same kind of margin, or they may lose. Uh, that's the way high school works. Is things can disrupt a team. Now, like in college, where you have a lot more buffer, or in the pros, where you have a lot more buffer that you can bring someone in that might be able to fill that position. So I won't hound on this any longer. I do believe that a power ranking system is the best system, and I feel good about the RPI system simply because it's an objective set of information that a human has not biased one way or another, intentionally or unintentionally. And the problem is, it can happen unintentionally. A lot of people like to talk about the eyeball test, but you watch a team play, and you can watch a team play another team, and that's not a full eyeball test because that team's got to go match up against another team. And you'd have to see both teams a lot against different kinds of opponents to be able to gauge how these two teams might come together and match up against each other. So it's a very difficult thing. It's not as easy as many think. Uh, I'm just kind of thinking right now. I kid my wife a lot about these shows she watches on Hallmark and how predictable they are. And she tries to come back to me about how football and I do a decent job when I go to games of about getting into somewhere in the, say, mid second quarter. I can start coming close to predicting plays, and once I see them line up, I can kind of predict where they're going to go. I love doing that when I'm down in the end zone and I'm getting a video of the end zone shot, because it reminds me of playing linebacker, and you're looking at everything and you're trying to decide, okay, where's that ball going to come to? They're on the 2 yard line, and what does their formation and their tendencies so far tell me where that play is going to go? That's still not the same kind of predictability of watching 5 minutes of a Hallmark movie and knowing the whole plot and everything else before it ends. So I digress. Um, the other thing, I guess, what I'm going to do, Jim said he would be here about 8. And, the viewers that we have on right now, if you watch, this show's really just about Jim and I talking like we're sitting down. When we get together, we do a lot of stuff in chat. And by the way, I do want to make a comment. We have a contributor who comes on sometimes, Garrett Futch. And Garrett, just before we came on the show, or I came started the show, we were chatting in our one of our staff message groups, and I just wanted to publicly thank him for being such a good human. The work that he does with kids in his real life is just commendable, and I'm not going to get all mushy on you guys, but I'm just looking to see the count of people we have. Anything you can do to help children or kids do it. Be a good human and help bring other kids up and along. That's one of the reasons I love high school sports is I love watching youth and coaches. I'm gonna put lump coaches into this too, and that's watching youth set goals and meet or exceed those goals. That's what this game is about for me. It's not about winning a championship or winning a game. It's winning every little battle within the game. And I truly mean that. I can take value away from a team that gets beat down badly by four, five, six touchdowns, but watching kids still competing and still trying to do their best. Um, I find more joy in seeing that than I do watching that team, beat beat that team by 42 points. Because this game is about the individual battles that occur every play and all the battles within the play. And the battles ultimately narrow down to a kid, an individual who is attempting to do something. And to have seen that kid progress, if you watch them long enough, you can see their progression. But to watch a kid have success in a game, uh, even though his team is not having the success, to me is still a huge win. So I take a lot away from this game today, um, and think about it a lot like it was taught to me about it being about those individual battles and you doing what you can to win your battle, executing the way you're supposed to for the particular play that is called. And then, if you can, assisting the guy to your left and to your right. But you doing your individual thing. We like to talk about it not being an individual sport. Um, and it does take all 11 to have a successful play, but it does start with an individual having a successful play himself. So every player's got to think about what they can do to make themselves better. And that's what I like. That's what I like about this game and why I attend high school games. I pull that energy that I see taking place, and it helps make me feel good. So, what I'm going to do now is I'll just talk a moment about my game that I went to last week. Uh, I looked at a lot of games and I thought that I would have a good game in attending uh, Charlotte Catholic at Myers Park, and it was not a good game. If you're looking for a highly competitive game, it was not that game. I thought it was going to be, but that game was not the game. Um, Maybe I undersell Charlotte Catholic a little bit, um, but I think more so I oversold Myers Park. Uh, the I talked a little bit ago about conference strengths, and when you look at Charlotte Catholic's conference, you say, well, it's Butler and Independence, and Charlotte Catholic, maybe the third best team out of the conference, destroyed the number one team out of the Southern MAC. I mean, just beat them down badly. Now that game could have been worse than what it was, but that's a good indicator of some of the disparity that exists from conference to conference, and that's here in Mecklenburg County. Uh, Myers Park would lose to the third best team in the other two conferences that are in Mecklenburg County. I clearly see that now, and maybe even some of the fourth, teams. So it's not a to just rank teams in that manner that I mentioned earlier, ones, twos, and threes, you could see some unfairness. But back to that game, the Charlotte Catholic's got a really nice running back. Um, their quarterback played well. He threw well. Larson, he proved he's the D1 player that he is. He made one wonderful one-handed grab of a ball. It was thrown out in front of him, but he just reached his left hand out and pulled it in with that paw in stride. It was really a nice. I wish that my video were not as um, grainy because I had zoomed in so much of that play, or I would have posted it. I may still post it if I haven't deleted it. But Charlotte Catholic looked really good, much better than I anticipated. And like I say, Myers Park did not look as good. So Charlotte Catholic gets to move on. They got to go up to TC Roberson and play up there. And honestly, I think they got a good shot at winning that ball game. Just like the game I probably should have gone to, but it was not a game either. And I thought it would be a game, and that was Marvin Ridge and Mallard Creek. And I picked that one wrong. I picked Marvin Ridge because Marvin Ridge knocked off Weddington, and I heard some key injuries had been addressed, and that's why they beat Weddington. But there's something else that's going on too that obviously I didn't know. And Mallard Creek, what? How is it? How does it feel to be a number one seed and have a Mallard Creek come into play? Um, what's going to happen up at East Forsyth this week. Independence is going to go up and play. So you're in the second round hosting a game, and here comes Independence as your opponent. I was just reading just a little bit ago about how our playoffs need to be cut down so we can have better games. That's baloney because we got some great games. We had some great games last week, and we got some really good games this week. Um, I got an interesting game I think I'm going to go to tomorrow night, and that's Lincolnton at Shelby. Excuse me. So if I go to that game, I'm going to go to Red Bridges, get me some barbecue, and just scoot on down 74 a little bit further and go to the game. We'll see how my schedule goes tomorrow, but I think that's what I plan to do. I don't see any of my other people on yet. So I'm going to go see, I think, Shelby and Lincolnton play. I haven't looked to see if there's an expanded list of games. Um, I do expect Shelby to win that game. I don't know if it's going to be highly competitive. I seem to be missing some of this stuff, though. Out of my picks last week, we put up our brackets across the whole state at 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 64 teams in each classifications. That's 32 games. There are a few buys, but that's 6,428. And I missed 20 games. A bunch of those games I missed by a score, less than 7 points. A couple of them were 3 point uh, misses, if I remember correctly. Um, so I felt like I did okay, but it's a little bit easier to pick first round than it is second round. Um, it was a little difficult this year because you did have teams that were going in like an Independence that's on the road the entire playoffs. Um, so you got a team like Independence as a road team. You have a team like Mallard Creek as a road team. Those are all solid football teams, and probably in 4A, both of those teams are in the top 15 in the state, most likely. I don't think there's any question Independence is, and Mallard Creek's probably somewhere in that group. So um, that creates some interesting first round games, but that's what the RPI helps do for us. Is um, it does move some of those teams up, They may not be in the top 8 of their bracket of the games, but they'll be at the top of the seeding in the second group. So that can create some great matchups when you start seeing those middle tier of the rankings teams facing each other, and one of them is far superior than that number one seed. So I do think we had good games last week. Looking at the scores as I went through to see how my picks did, and then to draw the lines for this week. Not changing any of my picks except for obviously I missed some teams, and so those teams are going to go to the second round. And if they happen to win, that's considered a loss for me because I had not picked that team. The only way I can win is if I pick the other team in the second round prior to win the game. So um, it's going to create some interesting things in my bracket. No bracket busters yet. All of my final regional finals are still playing. The finalists are still playing, and I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure all of my semi uh, regional finalists are also still playing. So I don't really have any major bracket busters. As I looked at the teams that I had picked, um, that I did not pick, excuse me. So it was a loss for me. Those teams out of that part of the bracket were selected to lose or win. I did change my um, thought on how Mallard Creek would do, and how, obviously since Mallard Creek came in, but I can't count it as a win if they win. I had picked ACR to beat Marvin Ridge. I think I got to go back and look at that part. So I'll bring those brackets up here in just a moment. See, nobody's made any comments. I do like feedback. To Let me turn that off. Let me go ahead and see, where do I start. Jim being very strong in all of the classifications, really would want to take part in all of the classifications, but so that we don't go too long tonight, I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'll start with 1A. So let me get my 1A bracket opened, and then I'll share it. Um, wow, I guessed. Okay, now let me come back to here and let me share. And it looks like you can see that. So in 1A, I missed one on the eastern side, and I missed one on the western side. I So hopefully my picks will continue. Let's zoom in on that. Well, moving on. Doop. Let me zoom in. All right. I'm sorry, people. All right. Okay, so Tarboro and Northampton. I'm picking Tarboro to win that game. Really, I think this is Tarboro's entire bracket region to win. and I do have Tarboro picked as the state champion. North Duplin is, I'm picking over Southeast, Halifax. As you can see, North Duplin, beat Pamlico last week, and, Southeastern really had no game against Union. Um, Bear Grass, I don't really know a lot about them. Um, I do pick them to lose to, Rosewood. Uh, East Bladen, I think, has got a pretty good team from what I've seen. So I've got East Bladen making it on up to play, Tarboro. So I do have them, winning over Northside. I think Jim picked Northside Pinetown, if I remember correctly. The game that I missed, I had picked Gates County to win, and you see they lost 20-14. So that was my buster on this side. But I did pick Wilson Prep, and I still hold to that pick. Don't know a tremendous amount. I know far more about Tarboro and Northmore and some of these other teams than Wilson Prep, but from what I've been able to look at, I do think Wilson Prep's going to make it through this game to the third round. I kind of like Northmore. Um, I think they look real good this year, and I think I'm trying to go on memory, but Jim may have selected Birdie in this game. He has put his brackets up. If you're curious, I think he put his picks up along with his crazy eights up on the Facebook page. Uh, Lakewood and Perquimans. I think Perquimans wins this game. Um, as you can see, they both had easy first round games. I don't remember if we differed in this game or not. Pender. So Pender had a win in a high scoring game, pretty high scoring game. They had a nice win over Warren. But West Columbus, I think, is a strong team out of the East in 1A. And so I don't think they're going to have any problems here with Pender or for Quemmons. I do believe that at West Columbus Northmore game will be a good football game if it holds up and holds true. I'm still dragging that line. I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to scoot on across to the west, and you can see Robinsonville beat. Oh man, I really hate that. I do like Coach Shuford, and that was not a good loss, 55-7. But in Mountain Island, Charter has made it to the second round. Robinsonville's a very good football team. In fact, I have them losing in the third round of Swain County, but quite honestly, that's going to be a heck of a ball game if it holds true, and I think it will hold true. And Swain County lost the last time they played. Um, it was a one score game, less than seven, I think. I don't remember the score, but I think this is one of those. It's hard to beat a good team twice in a season. So we'll see if that game happens. Swain County will have to beat a pretty good Bessemer City team. Uh, I think they will. I do think Swain County is one of the better teams out of the West. I put them up in, somewhere maybe in the top five, somewhere up there. Some good teams in the West, but I think it's going to be a little too much for Bessemer City. Mountain Heritage is another one of those really good teams here out of the West. Um, oh, so somebody just joined. Let me see who it is. Jim could sign himself in.
How you doing, man?
Good, Jim. I started. I didn't know if you were going to make it. I'm
Yeah.
not far. I'm not far into it.
Okay.
What I did is I talked about RPI. I just rambled
I hear you.
for all this time about, and then I jumped in. I couldn't ramble. I was obviously, you know me. I could rambled more. I did make certain. If you saw my comment in our chat to my last few comments to Garrett, just made me think. We need to publicly recognize how good a human he is.
Oh yeah.
The things that he does outside of um, high school athletics.
Right.
So I'm gonna keep. I need to make more of a point that people understand these things. We're all humans, and we do things other than look at football or basketball or whatever. Uh, Jim, I went through my picks, and out of all my picks from last week, I missed 20. Um,
I missed 22 myself.
okay. I missed two in 1A. I missed one on the west and one on the east. And so now I'm right down at the one that I missed on the west of Corvin and
Yeah,
Drone.
that was a big one there.
Yeah,
Corvin winning that game. Uh, I think I think North Rowan and Mountain Heritage will end up playing in the
I
third
do
round.
too. I do too. I think Starmount's a good team, but I think Mountain Heritage will they'll make it to the third round, and that'll be a real good ball game. North Rowan and Mountain Heritage. I think that could be a good ball game. It's going to be tough for North Rowan to win that game, but
It's going to be a low scoring game.
okay.
It's going to be like a 17-14 type of game.
I hear you.
Both those teams know how to play defense.
Y'all heard it. So if you here in the West, you want a good game to go to, uh, Eastern Randolph easily over Cherryville, and I won't say it's easily over Hayesville, but I think Eastern Randolph's got a pretty good football team this year.
Oh yeah, they'll win that
Yeah.
game, and then the Battle of the Bulldogs,
Oh
Albemarle
yeah.
versus Thomasville. And you know what, Dale? Just today on newspapers.com, I got they just put in the Stanley News and Press from back in the 50s.
Uh huh.
And they were showing one game where Albemarle and Thomasville, they're playing the SPC. This is back in 1957.
Right.
Toby Webb was the football coach. And Albemarle gave Thomasville their worst loss in history. They beat them 60-0.
Wow. Wow. Bulldogs. Of course, which bulldog we talking about? Yeah,
Yeah,
buddy.
exactly.
Wow, Thomasville.
And then
Y'all
there's
got
another bulldog right below you there in Murphy. They're the Bulldogs also.
that's right. A lot of bulldogs in the playoff, actually.
A lot of
Uh,
Bulldogs. A lot of Bulldogs.
that's right. So that Thomasville Albemarle game, for me, it it kind of settles in a lot from the '90s and 2000s
Right.
time frame, when Albemarle was really, 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 really good, and uh, Thomasville was really good too. There was some great ball games, but that's a great rivalry.
They are. For many of the years, Thomasville was 3A up until the late 80s, and then they went to the 2A. Then they went fast to the 1A.
Hmm.
And they were 1A from like 96 to 2004, and then they moved back to 2A, and they've been kind of going back and forth. Right now they're in 1A.
Right.
Albemarle was 3A through 1980, and then they went to 2A, and they were 2A through '96, and they've been 1A ever since. So,
Mm-hmm.
but for back in the '50s, '60s, up through '76, Albemarle and Thomasville were in the same conference, and then from '97 to 2004, they were in the same conference again. So, some good times, man. Some good
So
times.
that big score was when they were in the SPC, huh?
That's correct.
Oh wow. Okay. Um, so Bishop McGinnis and Murphy, Jim, I think that's Murphy's game.
Yeah, you're going to have to do more than just a few Hail Marys for Bishop McGinnis to win that game.
Exactly. Better have a whole bunch of rosary beads.
Yeah, exactly.
All the players, and then Mitchell's not a bad 15 seed team, but
Yeah,
they're I don't think they can. I don't think they can hang with Mount Airy.
I don't think so either. I don't think there's only just a handful of teams that can, and Mitchell's not one of them. So I
Right.
agree with you on that.
Right. Let me that. Let me go back. Let's open up this guy.
And with 1A East, it doesn't matter. It's all Tarboro.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
It's all
exactly.
it's all Tarboro. So no need to go back and talk about that. So
It's that's kind of why I went through it pretty fast because it is pretty much all
but
Tarboro. That's
but that
right.
1A West is just brutal though. I mean, that's some really good teams there.
It really shocked me. I thought if I was going to have a bad classification of picks and regions, it would have been 1A West, but it was not. Um, so here, I thought I wrote it down up here, Dale. It must not have saved, but I missed on the West, I missed 3 and 1. So what I did is I went through and I highlighted in red where I missed, where the pick that I did not pick advanced.
Right.
Um, so I don't think it's going to hurt me too much in that first game because I think Clinton will beat Bedingfield. But they only won by 2 games over James
Oh,
Keenan. And
can you share your screen with us?
oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had it shared. I can do that, Jim.
All
Yes, I
right.
can. Here we go. Not bad. Can you
Yeah,
see it
Clinton.
now?
I can definitely see it. Clinton.
Okay.
And I got Cummings beating Southeast Alabama. So that's a rematch from a game a couple of weeks ago, which Cummings had no problem handling Southeast
Right.
Alabama.
So I should not, I think, pick up a loss in either one of these, even though the other team did not advance. The team that I picked, I think, will still win.
Right.
And then I think that's going to be a good game, Wallace Rose Hill and Hertford County. I
Well,
think
I
that'll
think
be a
so too.
really good ball game.
It's going to be the run versus the pass. Wallace Rose Hill knows how to run the ball, and I think Hertford. I think Hertford County goes vertical. I was thinking they did. I have to go back and look at the stats on that. But I like. I'm gonna pick Wallace Rose Hill in that game, but I'm kind of like with you. I wouldn't be surprised if
Right.
Hertford County shocked the world.
I wouldn't either. I don't honestly. My numbers are my numbers, and if I miss a game, it doesn't make me cry. Um, I just hope the two teams have a great football game, and nothing but positive comes out of it, even in the loss. So, but I
I
do
just
think Wallace Rose Hill wins the game.
I just looked at Wallace or Hertford County. They've gone about 1,700 in the air and 2,300 in the pass, so they're a pretty balanced team.
That's pretty balanced. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's actually real good numbers for both sides of the ball. Those are real good numbers. So the
Just gonna look
balance
at
of it's really good because if you can throw the ball, you want to be able to run the ball too if you can. Some pass teams cannot run that well, and vice versa. And
right.
but if you're a really good passing team, but you can run well, man, you got it. You got it made in the shade.
Well,
Um,
Wallace Rose Hill in 11 games, they have thrown the ball for 529 yards,
uh-huh.
and they've rushed the ball for over 4,400 yards.
Yeah, man.
That's all about running.
I mean, that's awesome. Um, and some people say, well, how would a team like that come back if they get down because all they run? But when you run the ball and run the ball well, you can move the ball running down the field as fast as you can throwing. So, um,
Yeah.
don't discount running teams unless they get down about 2 to 3 scores. Then 2 scores, it starts getting questionable depending on the time in the ball game that you're at. If you're still in the first half, it's not a big deal. Um, West Craven and Nash Central, I think that too will be a pretty good football game.
I do too.
Uh,
I think Nash Central's been a little bit more consistent this year, but I
mhm.
think both of them have pretty equal ceilings. They're both of them have very good talent. It's just that Nash Central's been playing a little bit closer to their ceiling than West Craven.
So is West Craven the Eagles? Is that right? Or see,
I think they are.
aren't they a bird of some sort?
It's either eagle or falcon or something.
Yeah, I was thinking eagle. I don't
Let's
know
see,
why
West
people. It's,
Craven.
it's not important.
They're eagles. They
They're
are the
eagles.
eagles.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I really know it in memory like that is because way back in the early part of the Carolina Varsity forums, we had a couple of people from Craven County that posted, and one of them was a big West Craven fan. So
You got three good football programs in Craven County. West Craven is probably the third of the three, but you have Havelock and New Bern.
exactly,
So
New Bern was the other. Uh, the guy's handle was in NB Bear or something like that.
yeah, it's New Bern. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, he was definitely a New Bern fan. I met him at the Indy New Bern game in 2000, and they played in 2003. I think they
That
did.
sounds right. Now,
Championship game. They had
now
that
this
big. They had that big quarterback. New Bern did. I don't remember his name now. He's a tall,
gosh,
tall, heavy kid.
did he end up playing defense? Now I'm thinking about the Mike Thomas or whatever the guy was. Never mind. That was like 10 years later.
Well, when as I looked at that kid, I thought, what a tight end he might make. Uh, he was
We,
not to talk down on a kid or bad. I don't like to do that, but uh, he didn't look like a D1 quarterback, but he had the body that told me he could play D1 ball and would probably have fit better at a tight end.
you remember Jefferson Boaz? He's the third string quarterback for the Hills, and
Hmm.
he took East Surrey. I mean, just flung the ball for East Surrey. 6'7", 6'8",
Right.
235 pounds, and he's just rotting there as a third string quarterback. And I was like, gosh, he'd make a good tight end.
Yeah, it's getting kids. I used to think that about DJ McFadden. Um, I love DJ, and DJ he got 2 state championship rings on his finger, playing quarterback at Independence. But I always thought that body of his, he'd have made a fantastic tight end. He he was a tough kid to. I don't want to go reminiscing, but anyway, but get back to this Whiteville and East Duplin. Um,
That's going to be a good game right there. I'm
yeah.
picking East Duplin to win that game, but that's one of those games that could go either way. That other game, Southwest Edgecombe, Varville
Oh yeah, I didn't
Central,
mean to skip that one. Yeah.
that one, I underestimated Farmville Central. I thought Southwest Onslow would beat them.
Right. I
This
remember
might be the
that.
second week in a row they beat a Southwest team, but I'm taking Southwest Edgecombe.
Yeah, I
As
am too. I don't know why, but we talked about this last week, and that might have been a little bit of sentimental because I did have a fondness for Farmville back in the 2000s. They had a uh, one of their better runs in the season. But anyway, I think Southwest Edgecombe advances on and East
And
Duplin.
they played each other back on September 15th, and Southwest beat Farmville 54-48. So that
See,
was a
that's
shootout.
not a yeah. That's a shootout, and that's a wow. Um, hey, you might have another big ball game there. They might trip us up here, Jim, and make it to the third round.
I find that most defenses improve as the season progresses, probably a little bit faster than offense.
Uh huh.
But it's who knows? It could be another big score game. I'm gonna say it's probably going to be like 44-38 or something like that this time, but
Okay.
we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. Should be a
But that
good ball
Whiteful
game.
that Whiteful East Duplin game, I could go either way on that one. I think on paper, if you look at it, Whiteful might be a little bit more talented, but I'm taking East Duplin in the game.
Yeah, when I was going through my picks last week, and then when I looked at this game, I was on my sheet that I did for last week. I wrote under it big game, because I expected that this game happened. It would be a really big game.
Right.
So yeah, they might. Seeding says they'll win, but I think that Whiteville will win. But I think East Duplin's a little bit better team.
Yeah, Whiteville is in a split conference, and East Duplin they're in the same conference with Wallace Rose Hill and James Keenan and
Right.
Kinston, so they're a little bit more battle tested. Now, this next one, that Princeton Lewisburg game, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a good one. I've got Princeton winning that game, and I got Northeastern beating Holmes. Holmes is a good team, but Northeastern's just something special. That offense is going to be next to impossible to stop.
I think so too. All right, let's hop over to the 2A West. And I missed one game on this side. And it just so happens I did one of the things I talked about is we'll talk about this game, but I'm going to go to that game tomorrow night. Reedsville, I think's a tough a team that's going to be tough for any of these teams to beat myself.
Right.
So I don't think West Stokes is going to be much of a game. Um, Stanley Brevard.
I got Brevard winning that game. I think it's going to be hard for
Okay.
North Stanley to go to the mountains and win.
If
Yeah, I think
Jim picks against his own school, then I feel good about my pick.
yeah,
So I think we're looking at. I think I picked Monroe to win state. So certainly I pick them to beat West Lincoln. Tough draw for West Lincoln, win a first
yeah.
round
That's.
game and then
I mean, Monroe is not your typical number 5 seeds, and
yeah,
West Lincoln is a pretty good 12 seed at that. To me, it'd be like a number 1 seed going against a number 8 or 9 seed.
yeah,
Monroe is going to win this game, but it's West Lincoln they should have had a better draw than they did.
yeah. It'd been nice for them if they could have gotten a better draw. Monroe's a very fast team, very athletic. I mean, just extremely athletic. I saw them play West Charlotte, and there's a lot of good about this Monroe team. So that's going to be a hard matchup for West Lincoln. If West Lincoln pulls that out, yeah, that'll be something else.
So I'm going over my picks. I already did all my picks on the
I
Carolina
saw
Varsity.
I saw you did that.
But there's 3 games. I think there's 3 games that I put down.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was only 2 games. I think there's only 2 games maybe that I put down. I wanted to have more information about. Yeah, and one of them has to be that Bunker Hill Burns. I still
Yeah,
haven't made my mind up on that one.
you know, this is one of those games that when I made the pick, and all I'm doing is sticking with my picks that I made first, the first week before things started. And honestly, when I picked this game, I had a hard time then, and today I have an even harder time. If I were to, I could more easily change my pick this week than I could last week. Burns, this is going to be a real good football game. I think it's going to be by real good. I mean, I think it's going to be highly competitive. I think there's going to be a decent amount of points scored in this game too.
Oh, I
Um,
agree with that. It's going to be a lot of points. I do think that Bunker Hill is a little bit more consistent on defense. I think Burns has a little bit more of an explosive offense.
yep.
But, right now I'm still kind of hit and miss. Usually I'll end up pulling for picking the team that has the better defense, which would be Bunker Hill.
Uh huh.
But I don't know. Part of
Under,
part of my heart just says wants me to pick Burns, but my
well,
head's kind of saying Bunker Hill at this point. But I'll figure it out.
I understand. I was sitting at the foot of my bed last night with my Surface and my pen doing this, and when I drew these lines for this game, I'm like, I actually last night I was thinking I want to put Burns, but I can't do that because I didn't pick them when I first did this bracket, and I want to keep it all the way through. But I was thinking last night I would pick Burns, but then now I'm back to thinking Bunker Hill. So okay, we'll move on. Uh, Community School of Davidson and East Surrey.
I'm actually picking East Surrey to win this game.
I'm not surprised. I think I really believe that's a high probability. I'm not, again, this is picks I made 2 weeks ago, and I have a little bit of difference of heart right now about that game, but I have to carry it
That's
through.
East Surrey's defense looks like they have improved as the years progressed, and
Hmm.
their offense has never been the problem. But I like East Surrey now. This next game, that Forest Hills Randleman game, is one of the three or four games I'm thinking about attending, and
I think you'll have a good game.
I think this is going to be a good one here. I expect a low scoring game. When I'm saying low
Hmm.
scoring, I'm saying thinking more like 21-17 or something.
Okay. Yeah, I think you'll
But
have a. I think you'll have a good ball game. Forest Hills beat Anson twice this year. I think Forest Hills got a good football team, and today I put Community School of Davidson going to play Shelby, but if I were doing the bracket today, I wouldn't do that. I would
right,
pick. I would pick Forest Hills or Randleman. I'd pick the team out of this to win. But East Surrey might could beat both of those teams. So I don't know. It's those are four good, pretty good teams, I think.
oh, I agree. I
So,
agree.
but I think Community School of Davidson may not be as good as I thought they were when I did the bracket. Um, I'll say that. Uh, I'm thinking, Jim, about driving over to Shelby tomorrow, going to Red Bridges Barbecue, and then going over there to the Golden Lion Stadium and watching Lincolnton and Shelby play. Um, I don't think it's going to be a highly competitive game.
You don't?
Um, I don't. I
Yeah,
I
I
may
don't
be
either.
wrong, but I
I think
don't
it's
think
going to
it's
be. I think it's going to be about a 24, 25 point game. I think Shelby's just on fire right now.
right. Exactly. So I'm. It's an hour drive for me, but I wouldn't mind going over. I didn't see when I looked at games earlier today. I didn't. There were like 4 or 6 games that are being played tomorrow night. There may be more now. I don't know, but this one was the most intriguing because of Red Bridges barbecue. To be honest with you, so
Gotcha.
football plus Red Bridges equals okay. Um, But Lincolnton, I I did not pick them in the first round. I thought that would be a competitive game, but I really didn't think they'd win, and so I was wrong. Um, what about the Maiden and Salisbury?
I think this game will be good for a half. I think Salisbury has too much talent for Maiden, but
Yeah.
um, you know what? Though, if Salisbury goes in there sleepwalking, all bets are off.
My thought right now is that the margin in this game will be similar to the Shelby Lincolnton game. That's what I'm thinking.
That's a good chance of that.
Yeah.
You know, Lincolnton Maiden. I don't know which team's better right now. To be honest with you,
Between those two,
right?
I don't know. That would be that'd be a good game. I don't know who I would pick. I might pick Lincolnton. I don't know. I
I'll have to
don't
go
know.
back and see who won that regular season. I think Maiden won, but let's see. They oh no, yeah, Maiden won 37-34 in overtime.
37-34 in overtime.
So
Yeah. I would. I think I would pick Lincolnton, but
yeah, same
I
here.
think it'd be a good ball game.
Oh, I
But
do.
it ain't gonna happen, folks.
Yeah, it's
There's
not.
no way they're knocking off Shelby and they are knocking off Salisbury. I could see Salisbury sleeping and you know slipping up and maybe get an upset there.
You know the thing about Lincolnton though, they kept on improving as the season progressed.
Uh huh.
And they started out with 4 losses. They lost to South Point by 2 touchdowns, lost to North Lincoln by a point, they lost to East Lincoln by 2 touchdowns, and then they lost to Bunker Hill by 8 points. All those were 4 really good teams, and all 4 were very respective losses, you know.
Uh huh.
And then you got they started winning. They beat Newton Conover, beat Bandy's, beat West Caldwell, beat East Burke, lost in overtime to Maiden, beat West Lincoln, and they beat North Surrey. You know, that Lincolnton team is getting hot at the right time, but I don't think they have enough at all for Shelby. I think it's going to be a ugly game.
We
And that game has been moved to Thursday night. I just saw that.
which one? The Salisbury?
Lincoln Lincolnton's Shelby's
No,
going
yeah,
on.
that's what I was saying. I'm going to go get
Okay,
Red Bridges barbecue and
okay.
then go to that game.
I did not
So
know that some of the games were going to be played on
there
Thursday night.
was when I looked earlier today, there were 4 or 6 games. I think there were 6 games that was shown on Max Preps as being played tomorrow night. So
Let's see, got Tarboro, Northampton County. Keep your money, guys. Tarboro win that one.
yeah, I am not driving out there for that game.
Lakewood and Perquimans. Sorry, it's not Perquimans.
Yep. I've already
Uh,
spoken it tonight. Perquimans. I know how to say the name.
and it's not Bertie, it's Bertie. I'm sorry, I should be making fun of somebody that's means really well. Northeastern plays homes. Raceville West Stokes. That might be a good game for me to go to.
Yeah.
That's an hour away from me. Salisbury Maiden and then Shelby Lincolnton. Oh, I wonder if there's going to be any more games. So, okay, well, I digress. So we're going to 3A.
Yeah,
And
when we look tomorrow, there might be more games. Who knows? Yeah, so in 3A West, I missed one, two, I mean East, three, four, five, six. I think this was my worst bracket here.
well, I
Um,
lost. I picked White Oak, lost. Pick North Brunswick, lost that one. But going forward here, I got Havelock. That Havelock Cape Fear game is going to be good.
I
Um,
think so.
I would not be surprised if Cape Fear wins that game. We shall see.
Yeah.
Rose, North Brunswick, probably go with North Brunswick at this point. Scotland.
Yeah, so you and I missed that we both you picked you didn't pick
I picked White
North
Oak,
Brun I mean in the
and
Brunswick
I
game.
picked Person. I thought
Oh,
and that
you
game was
did.
yeah, that was 28-27 too. So
Exactly. That as I looked at that, I'm like, couldn't kick a field goal or something to help me out here.
Well, I just
uh,
looked at this Scotland Southern Durham. Those two teams played earlier on in the season, and let's see here. I'm gonna pick it up and find out what the score was earlier on.
yes, sir.
Scotland beat Southern Durham very first week of the season, 32-29.
Really close ball game.
Yeah.
I think this will be a good close ball game. I picked Scotland at the beginning, and I still pick Scotland. Um,
This is going to be a hard matchup for Scotland. I mean, I think Scotland's going to win this game, but I don't think it's a definite. I think it's going to be
no,
a one
no, I
score
don't
game.
either. I don't either. I honestly, I think if you were looking for a good ball game to go to, that should be on the radar now. For me, that's a bit of a drive. What's that? About an hour and a half, something like that.
Oh, the one game that Rose North Brunswick right now, I put down too close. I put down too close to call, but I'm going to go with North Brunswick on that one. I think they have a little bit
Gotcha.
more than Rose. I did pick Northern. Oh no, I picked Southern Durham to beat Northern Durham. Those two played already this season. Uh, Northern Durham, yes, they went to the state championship last year. They lost a lot of talent, but they have a lot of talent still. Uh, I I think Southern Nash though they know how to run the game, run the ball. They do that double wing,
Uh huh.
and some reason for a double wing team in the playoffs, they frustrate the heck out of their opponents. So I'm going with Southern.
I got you. All right. Let's look down below here.
This is another good game. The Southern Alamance Jacksonville game that could go either way. I'm going with Southern Alamance. And then Harnett Central versus Terry Sanford. I got Terry Sanford winning that game.
Well, if they do, then I win. Because I picked Terry Sanford earlier. Now I got the red line there because I I, I know when I drew this, I think that's right. I had to go back and look at my other pick, but I had drawn this in as I think I picking this week I would pick them. I shouldn't have done that. That's why it's in red, um, because it's a team I didn't pick that would have made it through anyway. Um, Spike and Currituck.
Currituck, yeah, I'm taking Fike on that. I was surprised that Currituck beat South Johnston by a touchdown, but I think Fike's got too much for him.
Yeah, that was another one of those. As I looked at, there were a few games that were not close, like this next one. But that was another game that was a one score game that I missed, that I missed on.
And
Um,
71st will roll against Williams.
yeah, I think so too. That's it's a strong team in the East, very, very strong team. I missed three on the West.
Well, I think a lot of us picked South Point over Statesville, and that will kind of surprised me. But I think Crest is going to handle Statesville, and I think West Charlotte will beat High Brighton.
I agree. I was at the West Charlotte High Brighton game last year. There was some very dirty stuff going on in that game last year. I almost want to go to that game this year to see if it carries over this year. Um, I'm picking JMR over Northwestern.
I am too.
Northwest, excuse me.
I know that was a very good game the first time those two teams played, but I'm taking them again. Now this next game, this Dudley over I got Dudley over Central Davidson.
Yeah,
That's the second game that I'm thinking about going to because I just want to see how good Dudley is this year.
pretty good team, I think.
Yeah, I
so
think so too.
uh, that
That's
could.
that's the next
Um,
game I'm
do I
thinking
think
about.
that game will be? If you go, it'll be obviously to put eyeballs on Dudley. I
That's
think
the only reason I go. It's not
that's
to
a
scout
several.
Central Davidson.
That's a several score win, I think, for Dudley.
Yeah.
Um,
Now this West Henderson East Lincoln game has the makings to be good, but I got West Henderson winning that one.
yeah, I'm sticking with West Henderson. Even if I were to pick today, I might think a little more about East Lincoln, but I'm a little shocked that they beat Ledford so badly. Um,
Yeah, I was too, because I mean, Ledford, they just didn't put up a fight against East
mm-mm.
Lincoln. I mean, that's a
um, I think Pisgah and Oak Grove here. Oak Grove is who I
yeah,
picked.
I picked Oak Grove also.
The
Now this next game down here, this
Oh
I have
yeah.
I have Kings Mountain beating AC Reynolds, but I'm gonna tell you right now though that's going to Fairview on Friday
Hmm.
may be a little bit more than what Kings Mountain wants to do. This is going to be a tough game for Kings Mountain.
Agreed. I agreed. I think that's going to be a very, yeah. Like we say this. I've said this a lot, but that's going to be a competitive football game right there. Should
Right.
be. Um, I think Kings Mountain can come out of there with the win, but Kings Mountain's going to have to play their best football to do that.
And
If
you know
Kings
Hickory.
Mountain's off their game, they won't know. Yeah, and
If
Hickory.
I was Hickory. I think they're going to beat North Lincoln, but I was thinking, that Hickory AC Reynolds game could be an interesting game. That'd be a fun game to go to.
That might
But
have more energy than well, certainly more than a North Lincoln AC Reynolds and more than an AC Reynolds Kings Mountain game does, I think.
right, I agree.
I think there's maybe a little more rival between those two, potentially between those two. Um,
But
but
I got
there's
Hickory.
some old traditional stuff though, if you think about it. When I say traditional playoff um, hitting each other between Kings Mountain and AC Reynolds, and so
Yeah.
I mean they know who each other is, and but I do think a Hickory ACR would have a little more energy. Okay.
And I got Hickory over North Lincoln. I think that's going to be a two-score game. All right, so I guess we'll do the 4A next.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Dale, but every so often I make my office into a recliner. It's like an
Uh
old man's recliner. I'll go back a little bit here, put my feet up.
huh. So in 4A East, I missed 4 games. Um, I did not pick that Jack Britt. Um,
Are you sharing your screen?
oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Got to remember to do all the steps, kind of like the way my
Well,
job's
it's
going today.
hard. A lot of people. I mean, I had no idea when I was like in my 20s how hard it is for a guy in their 50s to read things anymore because our eyes change so bad.
Right, exactly. So
It's
Jim,
hard.
I think this is. I'm sorry. This is Rollsville bracket, but
It's hard to beat a good team twice. Wake Forest is a good team. Roseville beat them the first time,
uh-huh.
but it's hard to beat a really great team. And Roseville is a really great team. Roseville is going to win that game. It
Okay.
might be closer than the first time, but
Okay. I could see that.
I did
Um,
not have. I did not pick Fuquay to get into the second rounds,
no, I didn't either.
and I'm picking Ashley. I picked Ashley to win against Pine Forest. So I'm going to take Ashley again.
Okay. Um,
I got
or,
Colonel Gibbons winning
yeah,
that game, and I'm picking Clayton over Pinecrest. I see that you did the same thing.
yeah. I did that last. I had it last. Like I say, I hadn't changed it. I picked them at the start, probably for similar reasons as you. Um, so I honestly I think they'll make it past Cardinal Gibbons, but
Yeah.
The road's going to get tough. The road's not going to be easy against Pinecrest, excuse me,
Oh, that's going
by
to be a
any
hard
means.
game.
Yeah,
But Pinecrest, I mean, I know they're undefeated, but they haven't been they've I don't know, their defense has been lapsing. They were down for most of the game against South Gardner. They had to come back in the second half from and beat South Gardner. Um, I don't know. It's maybe it was just a bad night, but Clayton, I saw Clayton with my own eyes. They're playing really good.
right, exactly. And I let a little of your comments about that Cleveland game impact me before I did my brackets last week,
Gotcha.
picking Clayton. So I did take your feedback, some of your feedback, and applied it to what I thought. Um,
See, I got
uh,
Hoggard winning
mm-hmm.
like you did, and I'm picking Laney over Friendship.
Oh, okay. I picked Friendship. Um, that was at the start of the playoffs. I may, I
Friendship,
may, I may miss it here.
that
So
I was going to say Friendship or Laney. They neither one of them really feel like a third round team, and they both of
right,
them got a pretty good draw, if you ask me.
gotcha. Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying. You wouldn't think of them
See,
as a. If you asked before the playoffs and seeing any pairings, would both of those teams be playing in the third round? And your answer would probably be no.
exactly.
So yeah, you can get favorable brackets. That's a good example.
At Newbern, I got them beating New Hanover, and I got Cleveland beating Leesville Road. I've seen both of those teams play. Leesville Road has a tremendous defense.
Uh huh.
I like what I saw with them. They made Richmond County look like they had no offense whatsoever. They made them look like a JV team. And
Yeah, I did not expect that, Jim. I thought that would be a closer game, but there you go. You never know till they play, and
that we'll say when I say that about that was about Richmond's offense. Richmond's defense is a different story.
mhm.
They have a very good defense, and I was very impressed with their defense. Leesville Roads, I mean, part of it last night or last Friday wasn't really as much Richmond's offense as just that Leesville Road had a dominant defensive
Right.
game. Richmond, I think next year they might be the best team in the southeast part of the state.
Okay.
They are young. They don't have that many seniors. Their defense is going to be loaded. I'd like to see another year with their offensive line. I think their front seven on the defense is going to get a lot better next year also. So
Okay.
Richmond will be Richmond of old, I think, next year.
Oh, I hope so. I'd like to see a competitive Richmond playing again.
Yeah, me too.
Just to see how the East. I missed two games, and I went to one of them. um, Weddington and Chambers that's I think going to be a top notch matchup.
I did too. At first when I was doing my picks, I was actually leaning towards Chambers,
Uh huh.
and then I'm like, nah, I'm gonna pick Weddington. I have a feeling I'm gonna regret that decision. Um, I'm
I made
picking
this
Weddington.
right. I made
And I,
this pick 2 weeks ago, and I'm not saying that I feel extremely confident about it right now. I still believe Weddington is a great team. And I think Chambers to win this game, even today, they're going to have a complete game because Weddington doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So, uh, but Chambers is has size and they got speed. They got a really good defense and they've got a good offense. So they have a top notch. I shouldn't say really good defense. They have a top notch defense. Uh, you could say a top shelf defense, but not the best on the top shelf.
How
I
far
think
behind would
Huff.
they be from like Huff?
Say again.
How like Huff's defenses versus Chambers' defense?
I think you walked away, didn't you?
Yeah, just for a second. I'll be
Okay.
back here. I was asking about how much better is Huff's defense than Chambers' defense?
Uh, I think it's marked. There is a marked difference in the two. Uh, in watching, I've seen both of them play in person. Uh, they're both physical. They're both fast. Um, Huff may scheme a little better. Uh, Huff might just be slightly better in the secondary, but they're both. I mean, they're both great defenses. So I do think that Huff's defense is a little better, but between the two, I think Chambers' offense might be, unless the Huff offense has continued improvement. I would say that the Chambers' offense is slightly better than Huff's. And
But this next one here, I picked Catholic to beat Myers Park, and Catholic versus TC Roberson. That's going to be a good game. I think a lot of people are picking Catholic. I'm picking Catholic, but I'm gonna tell you that's gonna be a hard game for to go over to Skyland to beat TC Roberson.
yeah, so at 24 points by Myers Park is misleading. Um, that was really a dominating win by Charlotte Catholic. Just solid win. Myers Park failed to come close to my expectations. I mean, they fell way below, and Charlotte Catholic probably only slightly exceeded my expectations. So see, I thought this game was going to be a one of those one score games. I thought it was going to be both of the teams in the 20s. Uh, Charlotte Catholic's offense is probably the most dynamic I've ever seen it. Um, the most versatile.
Is there a pretty good mix between pass and run?
Exactly, it is, and they throw the ball well. They have a great tight end in Larson, who's a D1 guy.
Uh,
It's a dangerous team. They run well and they throw well.
Something
Uh,
about the Cougars though. I've seen them play several times in the cold weather, and they're a good cold weather team historically. And
talking
I
about
think that's
Catholic,
yeah Catholic.
yeah,
I think that's one reason why I'm giving them an edge over TC Roberson.
right.
It's going to help negate that home field advantage.
I understand. I think that Catholic will win the ball game against Roberson, but I do believe they're going. They can't go up there and make a mistake or two. They're not. They're facing a pretty good team, so this isn't just a good team. This is above good team. Huff and Porter Ridge, and
I
I
got
wish
Huff
that would
winning
be
that.
a good ball game. I guess it could be. Uh, the thing is that to beat Huff, you're probably going to have to get in the 20s in points. You have to remember Huff's got the best kicker in high school, supposedly in the nation.
Well, the one thing with Huff though, you got to make sure they don't dominate the time of possession. And if Huff gets like 65% of the time they're on offense, you're going to lose the game.
Well, the other thing that's a concern about Huff is if they cross the 35, they get at the 35-yard line, they're in field goal range. Now he can probably hit one from a little further, but the school record is 52 or 53 yards. It's one or the other. I know he's kicked a 52-yard this year. I was at the game, and it was kind of into the wind, and it was a kick that he had told his coaches he was not good for anything past 40. Um, but his coaches trusted him, put him in, and he kicked that 52-yard field goal. So that's the danger thing about Huff, is that they are you're not going to return kicks against them unless there's weather keeping him from doing his normal kicks. There will be no kickoff returns. He punts well, and well meaning he could probably punt. He'll kick at the D1 level. He could punt at the D1 level. So he's a good 40, 45 yard, average punter who can peg one every once in a while, say maybe 50, 55, yards. So
Wow.
uh, Huff can flip the field. Huff can score from long range with the field goals, and then their defense is so hard to move the ball against that I do believe to beat Huff, one, your score is going to have to get into the 20s. A very, very good defense can hold Huff under 20, but you're going to have a Chambers style of caliber of defense to keep Huff out of the 20s. Huff's
Right.
not a team that's going to score. Well, they scored 51 against Asheville, but they're not. Yeah, you would not expect them to score, upper 20s, 30s against the Mallard Creek, a Chambers, a Grimsley, schools like that. You're probably going to be seeing scores for them are hovering around the 20s to low 20s.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm sorry. Porter Ridge, I like Porter Ridge.
I did too.
That's a good program.
I agree.
Sun Valley's had a great year. They stumbled a little bit. Then they got to stumble into Grimsley now.
They're going to be stumbling on home if you don't watch out.
Uh,
Actually, they're going to be stumbling on home after
even
Friday
after
night.
exactly, they will be watching out, and they're still going to stumble. So uh, I don't think this game will be close.
Oh, it's not. That's another game I was thinking about going to. Is that Sun Valley Grimsley game?
Uh
But
huh.
what I'm probably going to do is I'll probably either go to the Randleman Forest Hills or the Dudley Central Davidson game, and then the third round I really want to see Grimsley and Huff. So Friday, a week from now, I'll probably be at
It's
Grimsley.
so it's possible you and I will be at that game together because I'm I'm keeping my eye on that game. Granted, heart wise, it would not hurt my feelings at all to see Sun Valley win. I kind of like Sun Valley and the people around Sun Valley. So
Yeah,
from a heart pick, I would pick, would like to pick Sun Valley. It's hard to pick them against Grimsley. Just
yeah, I agree with you.
very difficult. I'm really, I'm really starting to question this pick, Jim. Oh,
That
what, what do you think?
Mooresville, Mount Tabor. Let's see who I picked. I think I picked Mount Tabor over Mooresville.
Yeah. Um,
I just, for the life of me, Mooresville, they have trouble with colder weather, and uh, and the thing about it is, last Friday it was not cold. It wasn't really cold weather at least where I was. It was getting kind of cold, but it was
mhm.
like 42, 43 degrees, and they were. I just see Marsville not doing good on the cold weather. I mean, they were down most of that game against A.L. Brown. They had to come back to win that one.
Exactly. That was really shocking me. That's why I say now I'm starting to, question this pick.
Mount Tabor's a good team too.
I
See,
know.
think about it, like with Morrisville, they haven't really played a great team the whole year.
See, Jim, if I were picking this game this week, I'd pick Mount Tabor.
Yeah.
Um, but I picked this game 2 weeks ago, and I'm sticking with my picks all the way through.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
was looking at Mount Tabor's. They've lost 4 games this year. They lost to Grimsley 30-7. No shame in that.
right.
Lost to a good West Forsyth team 40-14. Lost to R.J. Reynolds 29-28. That's an ugly loss right there.
Hmm.
And then the next week they lost to East Forsyth 21-20. That's not a bad loss at all.
No,
Then
West
they beat
Forsyth, East Forsyth, both very good teams.
exactly, and they beaten Davie twice. They beat them 35-34 and then 48-26. They beat Glenn, they beat Reagan, they beat Parkland. So they're coming, they're getting things right at the right time of the season. This is going to be a good game, but I'm going to go with Tabor.
Well, like I said, if I were picking this week, I'd probably pick Tabor. Uh, we'll see. We'll see if Mooresville shows up like I thought they would at the start of the playoffs. Butler's going up to West Forsyth. I mean, excuse me, West Forsyth coming to Butler.
Yeah, and
And
West Forsyth will head back to Clemens after that with their heads away.
yeah,
Butler wins that game.
I don't think this will be a really good game. 2, 3 scores is what I think. It could be. I don't know. It could get ugly, but Butler's a complete team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be about 3 scores. Earlier on the season, West Forsyth lost to Weddington 44-22. I see a pretty similar score, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. It might even be a little bit lower score for West Forsyth, but yeah, I think it's going to be a several score margin. Your East Forsyth, this is what I had in my mind. Your East Forsyth, second round, home game. Here comes Independence.
Yeah, I got Independence winning that game.
I do too. Um, Great
And
running
then
back. Jim, I'm going to tell you now, one of the best sophomore running backs I've ever seen. Um, I've seen a lot, so that's not like saying he's the first or second best, but he is one of the best. He's markable. He's markable in my mind, and remarkable. So,
that's a game too. East Forsyth Independence. That's a bit of a haul for me to go to, but
mm-hmm.
that'd be a good game to watch.
Yeah, that would be a good haul for you. Actually,
I was gonna say it'd
other
be
side of
probably
Greensboro.
yeah, it's on the other side.
Got to get on the other side of Guilford County.
I want to do
um,
MapQuest real quick, and I'll tell you exactly how far it is. And under
Hour and 35.
I bet it'll be more like an hour and 12 or so.
I think.
Yeah, I can get to Kernersville in less than an hour and a half. Let's see here. Put in my address,
Right.
and it would be oh, exactly an hour.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because it only takes me 3 minutes to get to the interstate, and I'm on
Uh-huh.
exit 260. What was it 265? And then you go. I'll go straight when I'll stay on I-40 because I can get to Greensboro in 45 minutes easily. 40-45,
Okay.
and
I
um,
don't know why I was thinking it'd be about an hour for you to
it
get to
would.
Greensboro.
Yeah, but I mean that's if the traffic is good. So that's the truth of the matter is that's under this time of the day, under like at 5 o'clock or so, 5:30, whenever I leave,
Uh-huh.
it'd be more like an hour and 20 minutes.
Right time of day, it might be quicker to stay on 85 and go through Greensboro than to loop
Yeah,
around and then, pick up 40. But anyway, huh? That'll be a good ball game, but I think Independence wins that game. but it's going to be that'll be a fight right there.
Believe it or not, it's easier for me to get to Kernersville than it is to get to Reidsville.
Really?
And Reidsville is closer to, I mean, like distance wise is closer, but you don't have the highways to go on.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I got that last game, Mallard Creek Watauga. I got Mallard Creek winning that game.
Yeah, I messed up on my Marvin Ridge pick, but I think Mallard Creek beats Watauga.
Yeah.
I felt like Marvin Ridge would beat Watauga. Hickory Ridge had their opportunities early, but as the game stretched on, the defense started giving up points. But Hickory Ridge was up in that game at one point. So I think Mallard Creek. I don't think Mallard Creek will. I don't want to say will not have issue, but I think they should win that game.
There was
But
a
might
few
look to be
big
semis.
upsets. There was a few big upsets last week. That Southern Durham beating Eastern Alamance really
Mm-hmm.
surprised me,
Yep.
and Corvian beating
That one surprised me.
Drawn, that surprised me.
Yeah. Well, actually, the Eastern Alamance surprised me too.
But
I
you know,
thought I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mount Airy over Mitchell. I was thinking, you know, Mount Airy would be a fun game to go to. I could spend the night over or something. But
Yeah, go. Maybe you might see Barney and Andy and
Goober.
you know when my father-in-law was in Kings Mountain Memory Center, there was a resident in there that was from Mount Airy. He claims that he grew up with Andy Griffin.
Oh wow!
And yeah, he didn't like Andy either. He said Andy was a butthole.
I've heard some other people say the same thing.
And so he was an interesting character in that his memory was not that bad. And I say that because he would remember me when I would come back in. And he would remember at that time I had a project that I was working on in Mount Airy. And so when I met him and he told me he was from Mount Airy, I told him, I said, "Oh, I'm working a project up in Mount Airy." And he came right out and he said, "Yeah, you know what Mount Airy's famous for?" I said, "Well, it depends on what part of it you want to talk about." I said, "How about Andy Griffin?" He said, "Yep." And then the next time I came in, he was like, "Been to Mount Airy lately?" So anyway, that center was for people with dementia.
Okay, gotcha.
Of varying degrees. He was he grew up in Mount Airy in the 40s and 50s, early 50s.
Ah, okay.
He went to Korea, I think. Did he go to Korea? He was a veteran. He served. I can't remember if it was Korea, but I think that's where he went. So
Gotcha.
anyway, Mount Airy, they have. I'm sure you've seen it. They've got the old patrol car like the one that
Oh
they
yeah,
make Mayberry RFD.
the old thing bent over. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those. That's pretty good. I went to Mount Airy about a year and a half ago, back in May of 2022, and went to Pilot Mountain to a drink some wine. They had a nice little vineyard over there, and that was a lot of fun. I went to Elkin. Elkin's. A lot of people don't realize how high up in the air you are. I mean, you're 3,500 feet above sea level when you're up in
Yep.
that area.
Yeah, you're climbing as you go up 77
Right.
towards Virginia. You are climbing up into the Appalachians. I had a customer in Elkin, and right there at the river, um, the exit. You get off, and then you go back. If you're going north on 77, and you get off at Elkin, and you go back to the left, there was a restaurant there. It would once you got off and on that road there, it was on your right. Um, and for a couple of probably about 3 months, uh, I had made some of my barbecue sauce, and I ate barbecue there and talked about it. I was going up to see this particular customer at that time frame about every week to 2 weeks, and we were talking. I was talking with the restaurant owner, and he's like, "Well, bring some of your barbecue sauce in." And we're talking about in the 1990 time frame,
Hmm.
so it wasn't quite so. And probably in that restaurant, it didn't matter about meeting FDA stuff, but he liked my sauce. He said it was real, I guess kind of risky. He's like, make me some more and bring it up. And so I did that for about a month or two, something like that. I was making sauce and curing it up, about a about a gallon of it. And he was like, well, people really love it. And it was good sauce. I haven't made any sauce quite like that because it was kind of hard to make. I For my vinegar, I used vinegar. I drained hot banana pepper.
Hmm.
Get the hot banana pepper rings.
Right.
I took that juice and used it as the vinegar versus using apple cider vinegar. Made a really, really nice tasting sauce.
That does
Um,
sound good.
yeah, I thought about if I could go over to Mount Olive and get, maybe get some of that already made up. But the part of the taste of it was having the banana peppers having set in it for a while, and some of that taste gets out into the vinegar, into the
Yeah,
pickled
that
juice. It was
sounds really
good.
good.
Oh man, yeah, that's my one of my favorites are hot, pickled banana peppers. I love those.
Get me all hungry.
Yeah, uh, we got a air fryer finally. I don't know why we
Okay.
didn't get one sooner.
Is how easy is it to clean the fryer?
Pretty easy.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's does a great job. Really surprised me how well it's cooking up chicken nuggets and tenders and things like that. It does a great job. Fries, sweet potato fries. Uh, yeah, it's. I've been saying I wanted one, and my wife had been kind of, yeah, it's a gimmick or this or that, and then for some reason, well, I know what happened. First of all, my daughter has one, and she was doing up for a granddaughter some chicken nuggets and sweet banana, I mean sweet potato fries, and they were delicious. The right crisp and everything. And
Right.
that's if when she hits something like that, it triggers on her. Okay, you know, this is the best. And a couple weeks ago, she came home with from Costco with an air fryer.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, it's it's a good thing to have. I haven't done wings in it yet, but I'm about ready to do wings. We did. We get these Frank's um, hot Frank's red hot chicken nuggets
Hmm.
that are already pre coated in the Frank's, and then of course I dump Frank's all over it afterwards to get more flavor. But we had those tonight. They were really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they come up nice and crispy, Jim. It's like coming out of a fryer without the grease dripping off of it. Um,
Getting me all hungry.
Yeah.
It's like my stomach's going grrr.
Grr. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about that Red Bridges barbecue tomorrow. Not a single person has commented tonight. Uh,
We must get everything right. That's what it is. Nobody has. They didn't want
I
to
hope
interrupt
so.
us.
Uh, I had trouble getting it started, and then it turned out one of the connections was not good, so I had to reestablish the connection. So I
Gotcha.
was afraid it might have kicked off different links for things, and thus people might not have been triggered, but I think everybody got triggered. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube right now.
Hmm.
And so you're not going to a game tomorrow night. Reedsville's playing tomorrow night, I think.
They are. Yeah, I might go to that. Might. And that's just a haul for me though. Reedsville's.
Yeah,
It's just it's hard to get to Reedsville.
yeah. I couldn't imagine it would be an easy trip. But if things work out, and Alan and Jeff are going to the Shelby Lincolnton game, I told them that I may go to if I go to the game, I'm gonna try to get over in time to go to Red Bridges. So we might meet at Red Bridges. The best
Yeah.
barbecue in Shelby, in my opinion. Yes, I know Austin Bridges is great too, but I like the sauce better at Red Bridges. So
I just
tastes
looked
it.
at it though. It only take me
Mhm.
about take me right an hour to get to Reedsville High School. I'll just see on that. That's a lot of driving for over a 2 day period.
Right.
So
And Friday night again, you're going to
probably
Randleman.
Randleman, Forest Hills, or I'll go to
Okay.
Dudley and Central Davis, and it'll be a game time decision unless one of the teams want to help me out and move to Thursday night.
Right. I have not decided yet on Friday night which game I'm going to go to.
Let's see, Randleman. Randleman High School is a pretty good little haul for me too. It's like right an hour,
Yeah, that would
57 minutes.
I would think that would be. But could be a good ball game.
Oh yeah,
I think that could be a one of the better ball games you could see, especially tomorrow night. I think it may be better than the game I'm going to go to. Watch Lincolnton prove different and make it a good game. I hope they do.
right.
To me, I don't care if they win. Uh, might even make it more exciting. The underdog goes in and wins. So I don't pick Shelby because I'm a Shelby fan. I just think the numbers point to Shelby, but I'd probably get more energized by the excitement that would be generated by Lincolnton, getting the upper hand and winning, and that would probably uh, feed good on me. But the same thing would be true if it was a one score game, one on the last play of the game by either team. So
Right.
for me, that's all I want. Uh, I had a little bit thought about High Brighton and West Charlotte, um, but I think for a game, I didn't want to travel far. I think maybe a Butler and a West Forsyth would be a little bit better game, but still not a great game. I could go over to, I could jump on 74 and head over to 26 or something, or over to 321 up to 40 over to Asheville. Might be the way to go over and see ACR, but that's too long of an
That's a
hour and a half.
long drive there too.
Yeah,
Also, if you get any type of rain or precipitation, that's just not much fun.
right.
That's another thing. I don't know about your area. There, there at one time they were calling 50% chance of rain on Friday. Now it's down to like early in Friday morning, I believe, here.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet, obviously, what's going to happen, but there's supposed to be some participation at some point, unless things have changed.
We need some rain here.
Yeah, we do too. That'd be a good game, ACR and Kings Mountain. That would be a really good game.
Right now, they're saying 66 degrees high on Friday, and then it says chance of drizzle.
Crest and
So,
Statesville play Friday night. I didn't think Statesville would be. I figured it'd be close, but I didn't think they would beat South Point. So I could be wrong in this next statement. I just don't think Crest Statesville will be close.
I don't either. I think Crest has got too much for them.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Statesville, if I was Statesville, I would try to get the ball first and try to do a couple a couple of haymakers at the beginning of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to see if you can't get Crest a little bit frazzled. So, but
Well, one thing's for certain, Jim. Statesville's going to have to score points to
yeah,
to even stay in the game. And when I make the statement like that, obviously you have to score points to win, but I think you know what I mean. They're going to have to put up a lot of points to stay.
oh yeah, Crest got the best offense around, and they're
Yes.
gonna. I mean, Crest is going to probably score 50 points against Statesville.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, it'll be in the 40s and 50s for them, most likely. So Statesville's going to have to find a way to score in that ballpark to have a chance to win the game. It's not going to be a 24-21 game.
No, it's not. I was trying to think with Crest who could do that. I'm really looking forward to the Crest Dudley matchup that might come if everything goes the way I think it will. It'll be in the 5th round. That would be a fun game to go to. And that game, I guess, would be at Crest or is it Dudley?
Crest, I think.
Is it Crest the number 1 seed?
Yeah, Crest is on the top side of the bracket.
Gotcha.
So Crest, another team I'd like to see play at some point would be Hickory. Crest and West Charlotte may meet each other next week in the 3rd round if they both take care of business this week, which I think they will. That could be an interesting game.
Well, let's talk about Hickory real quick. Do you think Hickory is the next East Lincoln from last year?
Are they the next East Lincoln? They might be. They're on the same kind of trajectory of coming from the hidden parts of people looking at them, considering are they a good team, sliding through the regular season, and not sliding as in they slipped by people, just kind of skated through the regular season, great record, good wins. Yeah, I mean, they could be. They could. They may be better. This is kind of what we were saying about East Lincoln last year. They may be better than we think they are. We kept saying. I remember saying that almost every week last year. As they kept winning and in the playoffs. It's a good question, Jim.
I think Hickory's got a great offense. I wanted to know if their defenses can match their offense.
Mm-hmm.
That's my question right now for Hickory. Joe Glass, I know you're listening, or will hear what I just said, but use that as bulletin board material. Say Jim West questions our defense.
Questions: can our defense get it done?
Can your defense get it done? That's the thing that. And Joe Glass right now would be just spitting fire out. and deep down he's like, "Oh, I love that Jim said that." Good motivation.
Can we get it done? They don't think we can get it done, guys. I can hear it in the locker room now. They don't think we can get it done. People do not think we can get it done.
I can
He
hear right
said
now
they were sliding through the playoffs.
that Jim West said there's no D in Hickory. What the heck's all that about?
Yeah, exactly. What is that?
I mean,
Hickory.
Hickory's got a fine defense. I'm just
Right.
looking at the numbers here. They gave up 32 points to Huss. They gave up 28 points to East Lincoln, 36 points to Newton Conover, 27 points to West Iredale. So again, that's just one thing I have to say. I just
Right.
don't know how good their defense is.
And at the end of the day, it's do you come away with a W?
Yeah,
So
the matchups are the ones you have to look at this time of year.
that's right.
I
And
mean,
you win 10-7 or you win 42-7. History only knows a W. And
right,
all that matters for next week is that, yeah, you got a W last week, so you can play this week. Um, those are highly important factors of can you just find a way to win?
right.
And good teams, Sam Griner's always on about that. A lot of times when we talk, um, it's you got to find ways to win. Teams have to find ways to win, and it's not how much you beat teams by; it's do you find a way to win, and because that's all that matters is you got a W and you move on to the next game, the next round in the playoffs, and
Well,
do it
the one
again.
thing, Sam was saying, like Morrisville, not that long ago. I said I don't know how good Morrisville is. I'm kind of questioning them right now. And he says, well, you got to, it's all about winning. But I'm like, I don't know about that, man. There are certain things about it. Morrisville's showing some slippage with the colder weather.
Uh
Um,
huh. I
I,
think what Sam is saying is what he's always said, and that is it's not how pretty you win,
yeah.
it's the fact that you win.
Oh yeah.
And as long as you keep winning, people can say whatever they want about how you won, but all you care about is that you won.
Oh yeah.
And playoffs, that's all playoffs cares about. Winners play
Survive,
on, losers go
in the
home.
advance.
Exactly. Survive in advance. Survive or roll out the basketballs.
Oh, Dale, tonight I went to the reason why I didn't come in until 8 o'clock. Went to this. They're doing a special use permits for or property across the street,
Right.
which is going to be originally it was supposed to be two charter schools, tennis courts, and ball fields. Now the schools are out. Well, they had the original meeting on October 18th, and they didn't have enough people in the board of adjustments that were not conflicted out, so they had to find a fifth person. So they adjourned it to tonight. We waited there for 30 minutes, and the fifth person on that board adjustment did not show up.
Hmm.
And we're it's an awkward situation about this stuff. If anybody's ever gone through a zoning, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They're not pretty uh, when they're talking about like changing the landscape
Right.
of your neighborhood, and hearing people tell you like, "Oh, this is great." We had somebody from the Chamber of Commerce come up and say, "Well, this is really good for the poor, struggling communities that surround this area because now they can lift themselves up by the bootstraps and have something to be proud of." That went over like a lead balloon. I'm in my 50s. I don't really consider myself to be poor. To be honest with you, I don't consider it to be an insult either, although a lot of people do.
Right.
Uh, but where do you get off saying something like that? And I contacted the former Chamber of Commerce, a good buddy of mine. Actually, he's my broker, and I said, "You know what that guy said?" And he says, "No, I don't." I said, "Oh, it's at this point, it's on the video. I want you to go back and listen to it." And he calls me. Oh, this happened back in the summer. He went back and says, "Oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot." You know how telling the community that this is good because you're poor and struggling. I mean, that just doesn't really go over very
No,
well.
it
But
does.
anyway,
Not
I
very
mean, we're
motivating, is it? No.
no, we're a what you call a working class community. My neighborhood was built in the '60s,
Hmm.
and I love where I live. It's very it, and what's so nice about it is my house is paid for, so
Right.
that's another nice thing about it. But what it's all about perspective. 30, 40 years ago, this was a very upscale neighborhood.
Right.
It's not now. It's you got these mini mansions everywhere. So anyway, that's there. So they had to reschedule again tonight because they didn't have enough people. The fifth person didn't show up, so they were like, "Well, we're going to schedule next Wednesday." I said, "Guys, I'm out. I am done with this. You guys have fun when you try to. You're going to get it passed anyway to do whatever the heck you want to, but I'm done with that. So life is too short to deal with that chasing the dog."
Right. Right. Right.
Well,
Understand.
Dale, I know it's getting late, so man, I
Yep.
better head on. Haven't eaten yet, so I'm getting a little
Okay.
bit hungry.
Yeah, get you some pickled hot banana
Oh
peppers.
gosh, that sounds so good.
Those are so good on a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Well, brother, you
All
take care
right.
of yourself, and everybody
Yep.
listening. Thank you for joining us.